not so old as that. I believe, even if I am, I'm retired already. But I'm not so old as that, specifically inside ICOM. I'm an archaeologist as a main profession, and working in museums since 40 years ago. But I entered ICOM actively as an active member only some 20 years ago, 18 to 20 years ago. So there are colleagues here with much more experience, even here in the room, of ICOM than myself, beginning to my share, national share, Portugal, ICOM share, Maria Jesus, which I salute particularly. But since I am in ICOM actively, I saw an important transformation on the role of regional alliances in the organization. And I'm sure that this change will continue in the future, maybe more dramatically than now. And as far as I can foresee in the future, positively, not negatively. I think that the future will ask for more involvement and the roles played by regional alliances inside ICOM. Let me say this. When I began to act as ICOM, I was a chair of ICOM Portugal. As many of you here are chairs of national committees. I participated at the beginning without knowing nobody and neither the rules, neither how these big conferences or the annual and the yearly ones in Paris are conducted. By small steps I understood that. And when I left my position as chair of ICOM Portugal, it has been proposed by ICOM Portugal. I've been proposed by ICOM Portugal as member of the board of ICOM Europe, which I get to be elected, which I was. For 2 consecutive mandates, I was member of the board, which is the limit. And then inside the board and other national committees which knew already my activity proposed me to ICOM Portugal to begin with, to propose me as candidate to chair, to president of ICOM Europe. And I'm now finishing my second mandate. So I will end my functions as member of the board and now president of ICOM Europe in this moment, in this election year. So the situation which I saw, which I observed during these 12 years as member of the board and president of ICOM Europe had changed enormously. Enough to say that 6 years before, when I was invited, instigated to become, to run for president in Milan, in the General Conference of Milan, regional alliances didn't have right to vote in the General Assemblies. I even said at the moment, a boutade, I use the French term, I said from the heart that I would not run for president of ICOM Europe if regional alliance didn't get right to vote in general assemblies. To me it was somehow almost humiliating due to the importance which I, at the moment and much more now, attributed to regional alliances. Then the statutes were corrected in Milan, modified, and one of the modifications was that one, to attribute to regional alliances also the right of vote. 3 votes, not 5, like the national committees and the international committees, 3 votes, which is to me fair enough, is okay, because we represent also national committees, so it's adequate, it's an adequate balance of votes, or number of. So this is expressed already a change. And from there up to now, the role of regional alliance, not only Europe, but others, have increased. Our board, I am happy with what we have done. Well, it should not be to me to say that, to my board, but we have contributed to that. Because we have promoted a lot of projects, yearly 2-3 projects, in cooperation with other regional alliances. The most important ones, which are really the most active, still nowadays in ICOM. This changes along the history. Sometimes there is a regional alliance or a committee, a national committee, very active, and then it ceases to be so active like that. But the most active, consistently active regional alliances inside ICOM are Europe, Arab, and Latin American and Caribbean. There are also a regional alliance for Black Africa, Africa Sub-Sahara, which has not been so active like that. Nowadays is somehow more active, but geographically speaking is more the Western Central Africa than the entire Black continent, the Africa continent. And in Asia, as you know, there is aspect which is also as activity, but as far as I know, and maybe I'm giving my view, is empirical and subjective view. Not so active as Asia would need to have as a regional alliance. So besides this, there are more two sub-regional alliances which are in fact sub-regional alliances in Europe. One, old already, created after a few years only after ICOM Europe, was Europe CE, Southern East Europe, assembling the countries from Southeastern Europe, which is very, very, very active, like ICOM Europe, and has consistently be up to that. All the committees integrated that sub-regional alliance are also members of ICOM Europe, of course. And they are also in our frame, ICOM Europe are also very active, and we did several things commonly. Then there are another sub-regional alliance in Europe, which has been created only more recently, ICOM North. Scandinavia mainly, and also 5 to 6 countries I'm not sure about now, is very mostly like Southeastern, but Southeastern Europe is more enlarged. ICOM Europe is more limited and is recent in creation, so it has not still have time to make, as far as I know, a lot of activities. So this is the composition of regional alliances in Europe, in ICOM, I mean. The activities done by these regional alliances is extremely variable. We, ICOM Europe, have the conscience that we are very active. But let me say this very humbly, in a humble but very frank way. Maybe Europe is the continent where regional alliances are less necessary. Because when we think about ICOM France, ICOM Germany, ICOM UK, ICOM Spain, ICOM Italy, well, forget me the others, but these big committees with thousands of members, with museums which are the reference in the entire world, they don't need to have critical mass and to operate a regional alliance. Nevertheless, it's a pleasure to me to say that all of these, which I have mentioned, are very active members of ICOM Europe, and they are always in the front line to cooperate, to organize activities and so on. It is really compensating to me to verify this. Now, when we think about the Arab region or Latin American, for instance, the situation is different. Regional alliances, especially I speak about Latin American, for instance, which I know closely because there were several projects made jointly with Latin American and Caribbean. Is here one of our former members of the board of ICOM Europe, Karen Brown, which thanks to be here. When was member of ICOM board, the ICOM Europe board, was in charge and promoted, and then was the leader of a very, very important project, jointly project between ICOM Europe and ICOM LAC, Latin American and Caribbean, and then with the background, more than background, with really the leadership of St. Andrews University, which where Karen is still working, as far as I know, on community museums. And believe me, this subject has been chosen in our board, ICOM Europe board, as the one possible subject where we Europeans would have much more to learn than to teach. Community museums are much more active in Latin America than in Europe. We have to confess that. And we learned a lot during this project. There are deliverables, there are outputs, there are different products originated there. And with an enormous budget, European, now in this case, European Union budget, enormous for us. It was, for me in particular, it was something for Karen also, I suppose, almost impossible to consider. And we applied, Karen mainly, I don't want to take, but it was important, the support of institutional support of ICOM Europe and ICOM LAC. We applied to a European Union fund which never, as far as I remember, support cultural activities, more linked to economy than to culture. But of course, when politicians draw a project, a line of financing, even it is for economy, they put always somewhere culture. And you use that word to ask for funding for this project, which was very, very, very much significant. 1.5 million almost. Can I say it? 2 millions, because it has been augmented, euros. So you see, we have had in the past, during my mandates as chair of ICOM Europe, last one and the others one, the previous one, we have had important, even very well financed projects in cooperation with the regional alliances. Also with ICOM Arab. We have, for instance, had an important exhibition on the Alexandria Library, also in Italy, in Bologna, if I well remember, on the links between both sides of the Mediterranean in European collections, in museums collections. These are two projects which I remember now in cooperation with other regional alliances. Besides that, we, ICOM Europe, as others, but I can speak by myself, by our regional alliance, we did annually, except during the COVID, when we did that only remotely, we did annually, every year, very disciplined, two meetings, one conference and one encounter or seminar, if you one in springtime and another one in autumn. And we did that every year. We have been in Italy, in France, in Spain, in Portugal, in Georgia, if I will remember. Maybe I'm sure I'm missing here others, but I'm sorry, don't take me badly, because my memory is already limited. So we have did that with different subjects and a lot of success in each case. Also, we have made declarations, statements on things more sometimes political concerning museums. We have made also, for instance, charts, which unfortunately, I must confess, ICOM as a whole gave little importance. Two charts we have made. One with the World Federation of Friends of Museums is named the Funchal chart because it has been signed in Funchal, the island of Funchal in the Atlantic. And another one during the, not this one, but the previous economic crisis we passed by, 2016-17, we have made another declaration named, it was my first activity as chair of ICOM in my first mandate, the Lisbon Declaration on the impact of the crisis in museums and how to overpass it. These are two important charts which are now, it is enough to type in Google, Lisbon Declaration Museums, it will appear, or Funchal Declaration Museums, it will appear. Maybe not in the ICOM site. And this led me to pass, and I will pass the word to my colleagues, to the second and final moment of this intervention. Regional alliances are, even today, not so well, I would not say appreciated, but it misses me the word in English, supported in the empathic sense as they should by ICOM as a whole. I don't blame nobody. It is a logic, an organizational logic. It's difficult for us to pass our messages in the social communication media of ICOM. Maybe not only the regional alliances, but I speak by the regional alliances. So this will change certainly. Is already changing, because I know that there are recommendations which will be hopefully transformed into resolutions at the General Assembly after tomorrow, to give a more central role to regional alliances, to have a spokesperson elected between the all regional alliances, and that spokesperson have a seat in the executive board to assist at least to discussions, to intervene if they are allowed to. Now the question which I leave to my colleagues to comment briefly is, we are finished the mandate. What do you have as your feeling and your experience on not so much what we have done, but on what regional alliances are for in ICOM? I will go with micro because I don't know. Maybe
that one is working.
The one is working. Okay, yeah. That one is working.
Shall I start or?
It's working. I don't hear.
Okay, so I go on. Elke Kellner, from ICOM Austria, board member. It's my first period in this board, and it was very exciting. It was the first year when we had the big conference in Greece. And then we had 2 pandemic years where we met online and did online conferences and webinars together. I think we were pretty active, also analyzing the crisis situation that the whole Europe, the whole world was engulfed in. And for me, ICOM Europe as a regional alliance is something so important because it keeps